everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Not Too Shabby and their adorable quarterly release, and this is called Brewing Up the Season. Today we're going to be making a total of 5 cards using this collection. We first have our gem pack, and of course that's part of the Brewing It Up collection in great colors. We have our stamp set called Holiday Cheer, and there is a coordinating die set that's available as well, separately. And remember, for the coordinating dies, it covers everything in the stamp set, even the sentiments. A 6x6 paper pad where you get 24 double-sided designs of 4 of each of these designs, and it is called Lattes, Cocoa, and Cookies. So really bright, vibrant colors. And I like to say that they're kind of the primary colors. So nice and bright, vibrant. And then you have a few other colors, not from the primary, that just accent it even more. An adorable stencil set called Coffee Cup, and we will be using that as well. And then our die cut ephemera. Now you guys know I love my die cut ephemera pieces. And again, this is called Lattes, Cocoa, and Cookies. And there's so many different images. We have women holding a mug with an adorable Christmas hat. We have Christmas lights, mittens, mugs, cupcakes, all kinds of other sweets, and other bits that can fill our card. So today I'm going to be doing 5 cards. 3 of them are going to focus on the paper pad and what we can do with that, and layering and pulling in some of the stamped images and die cuts. Then we're going to use the stencil to create our second card, and really our second design card. And then finally, we're going to create a vellum window. Yeah, had fun with that one. So we're going to start out by stamping some of the ribbons. I'm going to stamp this 3 times, and I'm going to be pulling out my alcohol markers. Just had to dust them off just a little bit. And we're going to be coloring the bow, and then later on I'll be using my alcohol markers to color the mug. I'm using an ink that works well with alcohol markers. Whenever you're using your markers, you want to make sure that your ink that you're using is alcohol friendly. So I'm using my ink from Gina K, and I'm just stamping that a couple times just to make sure I have a good impression. While I have my stamp positioner out, I'm going to be stamping the large sentiment from the stamp set, Hot Cocoa, Cozy Blankets, Christmas Movies. Yeah, it's an awesome combination. And I'm going to be stamping that 3 times as well. That's the sentiment that we will be using. I'm going to stamp this in the Gina K white pigment ink because I'm going to use white embossing powder. Whenever I do my sentiments in white and I'm heat embossing, I always stamp them with white pigment. I feel it fills up the areas if anything is missing. So I don't have to pull out that jelly roll pen and fill anything in. I'll be stamping this 3 times, and once this is heat set, I'll be just using a shape die to cut that out. Now again, the coordinating dies does come with a die that matches that sentiment, but since I stamped these, I wanted to put them on craft cardstock. I wanted to make sure there was a frame around those as well, and a little bit of a larger frame. So that's why I just went with a general shape type die. We're going to stamp our last sentiment. I am prepping my cardstock with an anti-static powder tool, and I usually remember to use this when I'm heat embossing in white. I seem to always forget if it's silver, gold, any of the metallics. But for white, for some reason, I just remember that. I don't know, maybe the white has more static. I don't know. It's just something that I do. You know, we develop our quirks and our little tiny habits over time. So here I am going to color the ribbon. I'm just going to show one of them. And off camera, I will do the other two. And I do die cut these out so that I can put them on my cards as well. I like to start out with my lightest color. And then I come in with my midtone. And then I come in with my darkest, and then I reverse it. I do. I operate the same way with my colored pencils. So I always put my lightest shade down. That adds, whether it's colored pencils or alcohol markers, that kind of gets that paper primed for what we'll be doing. Then I come in with my medium, fill in the area that I want for that. Again, still getting that paper primed. And then coming in with my darkest for the deep shadow to remove those harsh lines. If there's any, I just come back over with the medium, or I'll come over with the lightest, depending upon the size. So here we go. We're going to get our 3 cards together. I have a piece of solid blue cardstock. My next piece is the pattern paper from the pad. The solid cardstock is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The pattern paper next is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I just kind of lose what I'm cutting there. I believe the next panel, again, I just eyeball it when it comes to off of those 2 levels. I know it drives people crazy. I believe I went an inch shorter all the way around. So 3 by 4 1/2. Yes, I did pull that up before it fully dried. And I wanted to set that higher because the die cut pieces, I didn't want them to cover up the sentiment. So I wanted to shift that up, and I have a cupcake and a mitten, and we have a cup of hot cocoa for the center, and I'm going to put a bow right on either in the corner. You'll see the bows, ones for each, so it'll either go into the corner or it'll go on one of the pieces of the ephemera. I'm going to add 1 dot to the center of the mug. It'll be the same process for our next 2 cards. Again, have a blue background to help highlight the pattern paper. I love layering papers. Collaging, layering papers, absolutely love it. For the next panel, I have a lime green background that'll help make that pattern paper pop. I'm going to set the sentiment up in the upper corner of that pattern paper, and now we're going to use one of the larger size pieces of ephemera, and I'm using my double-sided foam squares to prop this up. And then we're going to add a bow right on to that. Again, adding a gem right in the center of the bow. For our last one, I'm starting out with the lime green solid cardstock. Now, you could cut the center of your solid cardstocks. It'll save some of your cardstock. I find, though, this pattern paper it's a nice weight. The solid cardstock that I'm using is a heavyweight cardstock for that background. I don't want, with the weight that I'm putting up with the layers, I don't want it to sag in the middle. It's barely noticeable, but you can see a wave that goes into the cardstock. And I have found that when I do that and it waves, it makes my card base warp just a little bit. So when I'm layering this way, I don't cut the centers out. It is your preference, though, by all means. Just letting you know why I do what I do, the crazy stuff. So those are our 3 cuts, or 3 cards, focusing on the pattern paper and some die cuts. Here I'm pulling out the stencil and I'm using my Speckled Egg Distress Oxide. I have it heavier down below and I taped it using some purple tape onto the stencil, and I've set that aside. Pulling in my alcohol markers, I wanted to make the mug brown, of course, as you can see here. So this time, because the area is so large, it's a larger area than usually than the bow, and usually when I'm using my colored pencils, I'm using, 9 out of 10, it's a floral image or a smaller image. When the image is this large, I will start with the darkest, then come in with my medium to pull that out and to blend that dark color. And then I'll come in with my lightest color. Now for this one, I am using 4 different colors in the family. And the alcohol markers that I'm using are my Altenew alcohol markers. And then for finally the lightest color, I'm just going to go over that a couple times. And I've got that perfect blend. I'm going to come in with a very pale yellow for the whip topping on the top. And then I'm going to come in with a colorless blender to fade that out. So it's like a vanilla type whip topping. That's going to sit in the middle of my panel. I've cut this panel down to be 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going around it. Yep, it had to come in. My vintage photo, and I'm going to adhere that onto my standard A2 size card base. And then I'm going to carefully, place my cup into my stamp positioner. I am going to be stamping this image twice. Why I die cut it out, I don't know, but I did. So I'm going to start, I want to heat emboss this in white. So I'm starting with my white pigment ink. Being careful that this doesn't shift too much. I'm going to heat set that with my white embossing powder. And then once that's heat set, I'm going to put it back into my stamp positioner. And my fingers and whole body were crossed that I put it in the same exact way. I am going to clean off my stamp, and I'm just making sure that it's sitting there on top. I'm going to be coming in with a clear sparkle embossing powder, so I'm okay if it's not perfect on that stamp set. It's not like it's a white sparkle. It looks like it, but this is a very translucent embossing powder. I get it from Recollections. It's called Glitz. And it's got this beautiful shine and shimmer that goes through it, but it's clear. It's absolutely clear. I'm going to prop my coffee mug with using some double-sided foam. And I came in with my frosted stickles just to add some even more sparkle to the whip topping. So I sorted out all the die cut pieces. The mugs, the mittens, and the sweets. I'm taking a panel that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm trimming out the center. So I used my ruler as the edge. So this is about 1.75 inches wide all the way around. And I'm going to adhere this onto a piece of vellum that's cut to the same size. So now we have this white frame and we have this piece of vellum. I'm now going to take the die cut pieces and add to the frame. So you have this vellum piece in the center that you can slightly see through. You have this frosted look. And then we're going to have these ephemeras sitting around it. Some of them will be propped up using double-sided foam squares. Some of them will be glued directly onto the frame itself and the vellum. Now, on the other side, you really cannot see the glue or even the foam squares because it's white on white, which is a good thing because I didn't put a backer on the other side of this piece, and you'll see what we're going to create for the front of our card. Now, this would make a great shaker card as well. You can just put double-sided foam on the frame, add your sequins or your baubles to go in there, and then add a backer and place this on your card. It would look really, really cute. I'm taking also some of the ephemera and changing them. So for the holly with the bow, I'm cutting off the ribbon ends from the bow. I'm going to take a card base, standard A2 size, and I'm going to cut off the front, and I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch, and I'm angling that hinge. So that's basically what that's become. It's become a hinge. So that when I place this panel down that we've created, the points are going to match up to the angles of what I've just cut. So it'll look like this hinge. I'm going to trim the extra bits of ephemera hanging over. And then I'm going to open this and I'm going to stamp the sentiment, "Comfy Cozy We Are." I thought it was really cute, and I'm doing that in a navy blue. And now you can see that through the front of your card, which I thought was really cute. Of course, we have to add some bling. So I'm going to grab some enamel dots, put one in the center of the mug at the bottom, and then just add a grouping of 3 on each side and going over the frame. Again, just tying in, since these elements are hanging over the frame, why not do that with our embellishments as well? I do hope you enjoyed the projects that I created featuring the Not Too Shabby quarterly release, Brewing Up the Season. It is absolutely adorable. There is more to this collection, and again, it will be linked down below, so make sure to check that out. If you have any questions, make sure to leave those down below, and someone will get back to you as soon as we can. But remember, subscribe, hit that thumbs up, enjoy the art that you create. Enjoy the process. Try something new if you want to. See if you like it. But don't give up creating your art, and most of all, always be creative, guys, and I will talk to you in the next one. Till then.